Greetings, I'm Cornelius Moore, co-director of California Newsreel and a film curator, mainly for San Francisco's Museum of the African Diaspora. And I'm really pleased to be in conversation with Eli Jacobs-Fantauzzi, director of the moving and very inspiring documentary, We Still Here, which is part of Justice Matters section of the 2022 Washington, D.C. International Film Festival, Film Fest DC. Saludos, Eli. Welcome.
Saludos. It's such a pleasure and honor to be here with you, Cornelius Moore. We get to sit down and chat once again.
Yes, great. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because my past experience has been with you where your films on music in the Caribbean and Ghana and this, well, maybe seems like a departure, but maybe not. So why don't you talk about how you came to make this film?
So I always say that I let the films find me. I don't necessarily go out looking to tell a story. And that's true for the other films that you mentioned. So for the last film, Baco So, we were in Cuba and we heard Afrobeat sound, and a DJ wanted to tell that story to the world of how Afrobeats arrived in Cuba. So this time we had a project called Defend Puerto Rico that I'm a co-founder of. We were in Oakland, California. We were doing an exhibit around the resistance to colonialism. We heard that Puerto Rico was $72 billion in debt. And we wanted to get to the island and see how our family was doing and what this meant for our community. And we thought we'd find, sad stories, but really what we found are amazing stories that don't make it to us in the diaspora. Stories of people taking over abandoned homes, stories of sustainable agriculture movements, stories of people resisting in the streets, music and culture. And so Defend Puerto Rico became a bridge for that message. And we were doing the exhibit and we hear that Hurricane Maria and Hurricane Irma is gonna hit the island. So we turned it into a crowdfunding. People gave donations. My living room filled up with 36 boxes. We head to the airport. I'm supposed to be on the island for 1 week. And I've been here now, it's about to be 5 years in a few. And so, yeah, I just tell that story to say that it really found me. It was natural. I didn't come to Puerto Rico looking necessarily to make a documentary film, but I found a story that I felt like, and we felt like the world needed to hear.
Mm-hmm. So say something about your relationship with the organizations that you profile in the film, yeah, and their efforts for the kind of supportive, and one of the participants talked about participatory justice recovery, which I thought was a really unique way of framing what the work is about.
Yeah, so the first organization was called Coco de Oro, and we've been connected with them. My big brother Khalil Jacobs-Fantauzzi, we've been connected with them for over 20 years. We're doing workshops in communities like La Perla. And so after the hurricane, I told you I came out for a week, and when the week was up, I didn't have anywhere to stay. So I actually was staying with Edgardo, who created Coco de Oro, and we were going around. We went to the community together, and this whole project started that way. And later we linked up with an organization called La Maraña, which is a women-led participatory design project. And I think that's the one that you're talking about. They really have like a 6-step just recovery framework for the people of Puerto Rico. And so that's what we were able to use. That's where the young folks of Comerio took leadership, and you get to see them in the film talking about the roles that they played and the excitement to be able to lead that. And this is really about what a just recovery means, right? What does it look like from the ground up when you're not throwing water bottles out of helicopters or paper towels at people, but you're empowering the community to dream, to imagine their future, and then helping them get the resources to make that a reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. And I think one person talks about how this experience post Hurricane Maria and the abandonment by the U.S. federal government via FEMA of Puerto Rico during this whole thing really shine the light on the colonial situation and reality of Puerto Rico.
That is right.
And your film certainly says that, and people who are active, they certainly acknowledge that folks are on their own and they're developing very unique ways of getting around what people have come to know as disaster capitalism, and efforts try to exploit the situation.
That's right. They call it like a demasking, right? As a colonial power, the United States is always telling Puerto Rico, where would you be without us? You'll even see bumper stickers on the island. Puerto Rico, where would it be without the United States? And so at the time of our most need, the most vulnerable, we would think that the colonial power, the most wealthy nation in the world, would be there to help us out, just like New Orleans. They would be there to help out the people in the New Orleans, but they continue to fail, especially Black folk, especially poor folk, Black and brown communities that are always hit first and the worst by climate change. And so I think these young people looked to the left and looked to the right and said, the government's nowhere to be found. This is, we've been bamboozled, we've been hoaxed, this isn't real. And we're going to take things into our own hands. And that sentiment reverberated throughout the island. And that's why folks took to the streets and were able to, make the governor of Puerto Rico resign, because they said, ya basta, that's enough. Enough is enough. And took the power to the streets literally and kicked out the government.
Well, I mean, you're embedded. I noticed a few times that you're in the film, so on screen. But how did you meet some of the standout participants like Marianne, Ortiz, and Yayo? What was their involvement in the film?
So I talked a little bit about the just recovery framework, right? And for me as a storyteller, it's paralleled with a just storytelling framework. What does it mean to tell stories that are non-extractive? And oftentimes in documentary filmmaking, they'll parachute into a community, they'll extract, they even call it mining stories, and then they'll get rich or build their careers. And oftentimes the community is worse off than when the story was told. So we want to flip that on its head. We don't want to continue that colonial process. So I've come up with a concept called participatory action filmmaking that I got from a mentor, Dr. Pedro Noguera, who does participatory action research. And it means to not be the fly on the wall, right? To be a part of it, to fight for the change that you want to see, document the process, and then talk about it from that viewpoint. So we showed up in Comerío with donations from California, mostly from Oakland, and we saw that people didn't have a roof over their head. So it doesn't feel good to give people solar lights and food if they don't have a roof. So it was important to us. We asked them, what is it that you need? And they said, let's get tarps to cover what we do have. And then we did that. And then we met Chino and Joanna that you meet in the film, who have 4 kids and their house is completely knocked over. And so I said, I have a camera. Do you want to do a crowdfunding video and we can help raise funds? And then when we took out the cameras, the youth are like, what? Can we use it? When they see the drone, they get all excited. Oh, can we fly the drone? And so we saw the interest. So we started doing storytelling workshops. And it wasn't until months in or half a year in that we decide, hey, do you want to make a film about this, right? I told you I didn't come to make a film. It was after a long process and time. Is this a story that you want to tell together to show the world? And I think that's why when you see the film, it feels a bit unique because I don't think a lot of people work in this way. And you see that intimacy and love, and you get to experience Mariangeli and Yayo's growth and transformation in front of the camera into the people and amazing people they are today.
And also one of the unique things I think about the film is that you to lift up the role of culture in this development in this activism. And oftentimes it's like, okay, it's the side, somebody sing a song and dance, but that this is so integral and central to this recovery.
Yes, and just in our culture, if you go to a Puerto Rican protest and you don't see music and laughter and joy, then I don't think it was organized or Puerto Ricans are there, because we bring who we are. And even if we're fighting against imperialism or the powers that be, we still bring our joy and happiness. And I think that's something in a lot of documentary films that's lacking as well. That idea of joy, the idea of solutions, not just pointing out the problems, but what can be done to inspire ourselves and the people around us, right? To inspire ourselves, that's how the work continues to go. This has been 4 years and we're still keeping it moving and going into the 5th year of After Maria. So we have to stay inspired. We have to work from a place of love or we would quit.
And I began asking you about how this is different because it's not so central in music, but I was seeing the film and it's like music is throughout. It enlivens the film. It's whether it's it's bamba, plena, reggaeton is like all throughout the film. So yeah. I'm going to ask you if there's going to be a soundtrack. But,
there won't be an official soundtrack, but we let follow us on Instagram or the webpage, and we make sure that you get to meet the amazing musicians of the soundtrack. People like Hijo de Borinquen and LS, who did the title track, and their album is out. They're amazing. People like Ife, who is now in New Orleans, who has a new album out. So go and check them out. People like El Individuo that I met from Cuba, and is putting out amazing music. So you get to follow them and find their music on platforms and support and be turned on to some really amazing music.
Well, give those platforms right now, and we can announce it again, but since
for sure, I think Bandcamp, I'll big up Bandcamp. If you want to stream and support artists, they have like Fridays during COVID that 100% of the proceeds go straight to the artist. So don't go to those streaming platforms that give 0.1%, to the artist. Make sure the artists are getting your money and your support, and that the biggest thing as independent artists, such as myself and these musicians, is letting your friends and family know about the music or films and culture that you love.
Well, that's great. And the other thing was you say at the end of the film that Yayo, how do you say Yayo? Yayo is now becoming involved in film and did the music video at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's right. That's part of that transformation, right? And I always say that the film has a beginning and end, but the story doesn't. And the story continues. And we just came to California and did a tour, and Yayo was able to come, Juan was able to come, Mariangeli was able to come, and that's part of our transformation. Like, they've never been to California before. They get to document the tour. We get some funding, they get paid, they get to bring resources back home, they get to bring stories, the inspiration from people like Poder and Hummingbird Farms, and bring that back home. And so that exchange continues even when the film is done.
So on your website, do you tell what's happening with some of the folks that participate in the film, like Mariangeli and what she's doing now, for example, and the work of the community organization?
Yes, so we actually, they come on tour with us so that she gets to tell herself what she's up to so the latest news, if you just got done watching the film, is that she is a director at La Maraña, the women-led organization. So she's here on the island continuing to do amazing work. Yayo is continuing to doing film and video photography. And yeah, we're super proud of them, and we continue to show this film. We're going to New York. We're going to Philadelphia. You just saw it in DC. So we hope to bring this to a city where you are, to continue having experiences, seeing the world, and creating these exchange opportunities.
And so I forgot to write down his name, but the actor who was in it, I looked him up later and I said, he looked familiar. And I saw him in The Heights.
Yeah,
What's his name again?
Anthony Ramos.
Anthony Ramos. Yes,
Yeah.
right. That was kind of amazing that you have him in there, but you don't like, you don't, say, try to connect him with, the Hollywood, his starring role on Broadway and all those things. But he's like a regular folk, Puerto Rican heritage, and he wants to be involved in the community.
And that's exactly how it happened, and I think that's why it feels natural and real, because that's how it was. He showed up to the community with no cameras, with an open heart, and said, I'm here to learn, and got his hands dirty. I remember he was trying to bring one of the refrigerators up the stairs, and it opened up, it spilled milk, got all over him, it stunk, and he didn't stop and worked all day and gained the respect and love of the community, and continues to go back to this day, and is just a part of it. So I feel like if we shine that light too bright on, hey, look, Anthony Ramos is here, it would take away from the work that's being done. And that's what he was there to do the work.
Mm-hmm. So I want to acknowledge that we're doing this interview with Eli on April 9th, a day or so after there was massive power outages in Puerto Rico. And I want to hear you talk a little bit about that, what connection that has to the events that people see in the film.
So I think it's just a reminder that the central power grid is old technology, that we need individualized or sustainable power. We need solar power. We need to get away from these extractive industries. And it shows that the privatization is not the way. Things are not better because of Luma. So the big struggle right now, there are protests today, is against Luma, the privatization of the power company. And I remember before I came to Puerto Rico, it was still, the hurricane had just hit, and people were saying, don't come yet, there's not enough gas and resources. And I thought of what could I bring that would be useful in a time when there was nobody had electricity, and a lot of people didn't have running water. And I thought to bring a solar powered generator. And the idea was to go from town to town to show movies and bring community together and have popcorn and juice. And so that project is called Cine Solar Rodante. And so being in this blackout, it reminds me of projects like that, of creativity, of trying to think outside of the box and not just do things the way that they've been passed down to us, especially when they don't work.
Mm-hmm. Well, great for sharing that information. And finally, I want to ask you to give the website and whatever other social media platforms you want to share with people.
Yes, so please follow our journey on Instagram. It's at We Still Here PR, or the website is www.westillherepr.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. If you want to host this screening, you could click it on the website and be in touch with us. Please tell your friends and family, and now we consider you an ally. After hearing this story, a lot of people don't know about the struggle.
Hi.
Hey. Sorry about that. That wasn't for dramatic.
As you were saying, yeah, we're all going to have a workaround going, like, as we were talking, and as I said before, the power went out. So why don't you do the social media thing again?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can be in touch with us at We Still Here PR on Instagram, and our website is www.westillherepr.com. And we would love to hear from you. If you want to host a screening, you could contact us through the website, and we look forward to continuing this conversation.
Hey, Eli, thank you. It's such a pleasure, you know, and knowing what you're doing and the wonderful active, you know, film activism and organizing that you're doing, and look forward to following you and seeing what you do next and engaging what you're doing now.
Thank you so much, Cornelius Moore. I appreciate you for hosting this. Thank you to the DC Film Festival. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you, and I'm so grateful.
Okay. So that's Eli Jacobs-Fantauzzi, director of We Still Here, which is at the DC Film Fest in 2022, and you and some other folks will be in person in Washington, D.C. Okay. Thank you.